now the most reasonable talk show host from Sop Choppy to the Redneck Riviera, here is Bob Kerrigan.
Good evening and welcome to Within Reason. My pleasure tonight to have my conservative partner, Mr. Rankin, with me tonight. Mr. Rankin.
It's a pleasure to be here, as
always.
We
have lots of interesting things to talk about tonight. And a high priority of Obama was the closing, will be the closing of Guantanamo. Guantanamo has presented a terrible public relations problem for the United States. We claim that Guantanamo is not part of the United States, not subject to United States laws, and we claim it's not part of Cuba. Whatever it is exactly is unknown, but therefore these people that are housed there who've been arrested are not enemy combatants, and they're not entitled to protections of the Geneva Convention or to any protections of the host country. In other words, we've created this no man's land, and we've stuffed people in the cages there, maybe rightfully or wrongfully, depending on what they are accused of doing. But some of them have been there for 7 years, and some of them have no charges pending against them. The problem has been, and will be, what to do with them. The Obama administration will launch a review of the classified files of 250 of these detainees, announcing the closure of the controversial detention facility would be among the most potent signs, this article says, from Peter Finn of the Washington Post, that the incoming administration could send of its sharp break with the Bush era, according to advisors.
An observation, one of the many sins committed by the Bush administration against real conservatism is this massive overreaching, this above-law kind of approach that they have had. And I'm no fan of the Democrats, President-elect Obama, or Vice President-elect Biden, but they are both real civil libertarians. And thus, they are conservative in that sense, because what conservatives are about is limiting the power of government. And right. Civil libertarians want to limit the power of government. And so I think that will be a change for the better.
Well, your party didn't do too well.
No, they didn't do well at all. My party barely exists because I really kind of align more with the Libertarian Party than the modern Republicans who are taking instructions from the religious right and focusing on gays and abortion, which has really nothing to do with conservatism.
Well, that is the Republican Party.
That is the modern Republican Party of Sarah Palin. God, guns, grab the money.
Yeah.
And
did you hear the Hank Williams commercial that ran on local radio stations? We love our God, we love our guns. I mean, kind of right. G&G.
That's
God and guns and guts.
That's nice.
And guts.
None of that should have anything to do with government. But why is it that the preachers have people all worked up about gay? We have to defend marriage. Defend marriage against what? I've said this before on this TV. If every homosexual in Connecticut or Massachusetts got married tomorrow, for those married folks, would your marriage be worse off? How does that threaten your marriage? How does that have anything to do with anything? God said a marriage is between a man and a woman, and government should help define that. How about this? Why does government have anything to do with it? Marriage should be a contract between two people.
Well, Michael Savage says that we ought not to have our children read the book, Jimmy Has Two Daddies. President Bush was in a frenzy, much like he has been in the past. When he wants something done, it has to be done immediately. If you don't do it, you're not patriotic. In fact, he had a bunch of economic advisors come in, and he told them all, if we don't pass this by Sunday at 2 o'clock, this was Friday afternoon, this sucker could go down. This kind of his way of saying the country would collapse. So what did the Democrats do and the Republicans? They raced to pass it. And they gave $700 billion to Henry Paulson. Now, was that a good idea?
I don't think so. First of all, this is kind of a caveat. When we talked about doing the show, I've been following the story like probably most Americans have, but I tried to learn more about the bailout and the economics of it, and the credit freeze up and how that all had to do. And what I decided was, I got frustrated and said, I just don't understand it. I'm not an economist. And then I said, well, Do you think that Jeff Miller and the people in Congress really understood it when they had less time than we did to analyze it?
Tell us a little bit about what is $700 billion? How much is it?
This is interesting. It's roughly $2,300 for every man, woman, and child in the United States. So if you've got a family of 4, that's approaching 10 grand. That's your bill for the bailout. Now, maybe if you're lucky, you get to pass it on to your children and grandchildren.
And maybe under some theories,
we get
some of
back.
that will come back. I mean, that's the idea.
Yeah.
You know, that's a 5% dividend on preferred stock or whatever it is.
It might. But here's the problem with that. It's not that these people aren't smart. And Warren Buffett went in and bought some of the distressed securities of one of, and I forgot which one.
Yeah.
One of the investment banks, but. This stuff is, the Congress is political. They're going to make the decisions based on politics, not based on what's prudent, on helping their friends. So, you're right. Maybe some of that money comes back. $700 billion is more than all the cash in circulation in the United States.
More than all of the cash?
All of the cash in circulation in the United States.
All right, we're going to go to Ron, who's been patient. Ron, are you there?
Yes.
All right, you're up.
I'd like to hear comments from both of you. Question number 1. Do you think that there's going to be any type of legitimate investigation into the real estate market where the crooks were breaking the laws, into the banking market where the bankers were breaking the laws, and in the lending market? And as a result of these investigations, do you think there's going to be any prosecution? And don't we all know that as we speak, documents are being rewritten and or shredded? I'd like to hear your comments on that.
Well, I have no problem with that at all, but to say that they're shredding everything they can get their hands on, in my judgment, they can't find 2.5 million emails in the White House.
Yeah.
I mean, they got other things, other problems. In terms of prosecution, I'm different than most people about this. I think that these investigations are healthy. I favor them. I like investigations. I like the Democrats investigating the Republicans and Republicans investigating the Democrats. What I don't like is one party controlling all aspects of our government to the point that nothing gets investigated. Right. We had 6 years of that with Bush.
Yeah. Nothing gets investigated on your side.
Nothing. Everybody looks the other way.
To answer your question, a lot of the bankers who are now in trouble over this didn't break any law at all. In the real estate market, certainly there were mortgage brokers who engaged in lots of lying, and they ought to be investigated and prosecuted. Well, under Bush, we had everything was anti-terrorist. Now everything's going to be stimulus and rescue, and it's not going to be the bailout the unions bill, and it's not going to be the pay back the unions bill. It's going to be rescue the troubled auto industry. There's part of the auto industry that's doing just dandy.
Yeah, right. Honda.
They're building
Toyota.
In the South, they build Mercedes, they build BMWs, they build Honda, Toyota. There's a new Hyundai plant so it's not the whole auto industry. It's just the big 3 that
and they're
made
all
a lot
in
of
Detroit.
mistakes, and they're all in Detroit, and they've now got tremendous political clout, and you can see it coming. They ought to go bankrupt. Right to your legislators and say, let them go bankrupt. It'll be okay. They'll endure, and the workers will still have jobs, and don't give them our money.
My guest tonight, Bill Rankin, and thank you so much for joining me Within Reason. Bill will be back at least once a month. I have to build up courage over 3 or 4 weeks to get him to come back and try to arm myself with his arguments. Anyway, we're glad to have you with us. Email us, voicemail us, or send us a message, and we'll see you next week at this time.